Inside those rooms were girls, weak, crying, some holding babies. Some couldn't even walk. The officers were shocked. One of them whispered, "Dear God, this is a prison, not a school."
In the city of Benin, everyone knew Mr. Dave and Mrs. Temiketin. They looked perfect, always smiling, always giving. Every Sunday, they sat right in front at church. People whispered, see how blessed they are. So generous, so humble. They donated money, gave food to widows, and even built a big boarding school called Havilla Girls School. It was supposed to be a place where girls could learn and become leaders. Everyone clapped and said, "God bless this couple. They are doing great things." Their house was the biggest in the area. A tall gate, strong security men, and big dogs that barked at strangers. From the outside, it looked like heaven. But inside those walls, it was another story. Mrs. Temiketin loved attention. She liked when cameras followed her, taking pictures of her giving food or smiling beside poor children. Mr. Dave, on the other hand, didn't talk much. He handled all the business quietly and made sure everything looked perfect on the outside. Together, they were the most admired couple in Benin. But people didn't know that behind their kind faces was a secret so dark it would one day shock the whole country. At night, when everyone was asleep, the couple often had quiet meetings. They talked about things no one else was allowed to hear. Their special school was not just a school. It was something much worse. From the outside, Havilla Girls School looked beautiful. Tall buildings, bright paint, clean uniforms, and a big gate with a golden sign that said, "Havilla, building the women of tomorrow." Parents felt safe sending their daughters there. They said, if Mrs. Temiketin is in charge, our children are safe. But nobody knew what really happened inside. When new girls arrived, they were welcomed with smiles. The matron would hug them and say, "You are lucky to be here, my dear. This place will change your life." But after a few days, everything changed. The smiles disappeared, the gates were locked, and the girls were not allowed to leave, not even to visit home. They were told what to wear, what to eat, when to sleep, and when to talk. If anyone asked too many questions, the teachers would shout, "You should be grateful. Do you know how many people want to be here?" There were no real classes, no maths, no English, no writing. Instead, the girls were made to do strange things. Some were sent to take care of babies that didn't belong to them. Others were forced to do training that no one understood. Many of them cried at night. They missed their homes. But the tall fence and the guards made it impossible to run away. One of the girls, a 16-year-old named Ekaete, came from Akwa Ibom. She joined because she thought it was a chance to get a better life. Mrs. Temiketin had met her mother in church and promised, "Don't worry, your daughter will go far. She will become a great woman." But after a few weeks, Ekaete knew something was wrong. This was no normal school. And soon, she would see things that would make her wish she never came to Benin at all.
At first, Ekaete thought maybe the strict rules were just for discipline. But after 2 months, she realized something strange. No one ever went home. Some of the girls said they had been there for over a year. No letters, no visitors, no holidays. When parents came asking for their children, the security men would say they are not available right now. They are in a special program. But the truth was, the girls were trapped. Inside Havilla, everything looked fine during the day. Clean uniforms, morning prayers, chores. But at night, things changed. Guards walked around with flashlights. The girls were told not to talk or make noise after 9 p.m. Ikaete shared a small room with 4 other girls: Evie, Blessing, Rita, and Adaora. All of them were young, between 14 and 18. They whispered at night about their families, wondering if anyone still remembered them. One night, Evie said quietly, "Ikaete, have you noticed something? Some girls disappear after a while, and they never come back." That was true. Every few weeks, 1 or 2 girls would be called out by the matron. They would pack their things and go to the special quarters. No one ever saw them again. The teachers told the rest, "They've gone for advanced training. You will go too when your time comes." But the girls didn't believe that anymore. They had seen tears. They had heard muffled cries in the middle of the night. Something bad was happening behind those walls. Ikaete made up her mind that one day she would find out what it was, even if it meant getting punished. And deep down, she began to wonder, was Mrs. Temiketin, the smiling woman on TV, really the same person who ran this place? One hot afternoon, Ikaete was sent to help clean the nurse's room. She was sweeping quietly when she noticed something strange. Behind the nurse's table was a small metal door. It looked like a cupboard, but the handle was locked. Curious, Ikaete bent down. Through a small crack, she saw something that made her heart beat fast. Tiny baby bottles and piles of white cloth inside. She whispered, "But this is supposed to be a girls' school. Why are there baby things here?" Before she could look longer, the nurse shouted, "What are you doing there? Go back to your dormitory." Ikaete jumped up and ran out quickly. That night she couldn't sleep. Her mind was full of questions. Where did the babies come from? Who was using those bottles? Why did girls disappear after going to the special quarters? The next week, she got her answer and it broke her heart. While carrying laundry to the back of the building, she heard a weak voice calling from a small window. "Ikaete, help me." She looked closer and saw Rita, one of her roommates, lying on a bed. Her eyes were tired. Her stomach was big. She was crying softly. Ikaete whispered, "Rita, what happened to you?" Rita said, "They made me carry a baby. I didn't want to. They said if I talk, they will punish me." Ikaete froze. She didn't understand at first, but then it hit her. The girls who disappeared weren't being sent away to school. They were being used to have babies. Her hands shook as she walked back to the dorm. Everything suddenly made sense. The baby bottles, the cries at night, the guards. Havilla Girls School wasn't a school at all. It was a secret place where innocent girls were being used and hidden from the world. That night, Ikaete sat by her window, whispering to herself, "I have to find a way out, or none of us will ever see our homes again."
That night, Ikaete couldn't close her eyes. The things she had seen wouldn't leave her mind. Rita's weak voice, the baby bottles, the locked rooms. She stayed awake, staring at the dark ceiling, listening. Around midnight, she heard it, a soft cry, like a baby's whimper, then another, and another. The sound came from behind the main building, the same place where the special quarters were. Ikaete sat up and whispered to Ivy, "Do you hear that?" Ivy nodded, scared. "I hear it every night, but we're not supposed to talk about it." Ikaete's heart pounded. She moved quietly to the small window near her bed. Through the darkness, she saw shadows moving, women in white uniforms, carrying small bundles in their arms. Then she saw something that made her cover her mouth. One of the guards pushed a girl she recognized, Blessing, into a small building. Blessing looked weak and was crying softly. The guard shouted, "Move, you know the rules here." Ikaete's tears fell. She wanted to scream, but she couldn't. If the guards heard her, they would punish her too. For the first time, she realized how deep the evil in Havilla Girls School was. Those babies crying in the night weren't just sounds, they were proof of what was happening inside those walls. By morning, the school looked normal again. Girls lined up for breakfast. Teachers smiled. But Temiketin now saw it all differently, like a mask hiding a monster's face. She whispered to herself, "If nobody outside knows, I'll have to find a way to tell them. Someone has to stop this." That was the first night Temiketin decided she would escape, no matter what it cost. A few weeks later, something unusual happened at Havilla Girls School. A big black car drove through the gate. Everyone stopped what they were doing. Visitors hardly ever came inside. Mrs. Temiketin herself came out to welcome the man. He was tall, wore dark glasses, and didn't smile at all. He spoke softly, but everyone could tell he was important. Temiketin and the other girls watched from a window. "Who is he?" Adaora whispered. "Maybe a pastor," Ivy guessed. But Temiketin shook her head. She didn't think so. After the man went inside the office, Mrs. Temiketin called the matron and said something quietly. A few minutes later, the matron went straight to the special quarters. Not long after, 2 guards carried a small box and placed it inside the man's car. When the car drove away, Temiketin saw Mrs. Temiketin smiling proudly, like she had just finished a business deal. Something about that smile made Temiketin's stomach twist. That night, Rita whispered from her bed, "Temiketin, every time a big car comes, one baby disappears." Temiketin's eyes widened. "Disappear? What do you mean?" "They take them away. They sell them to people outside," Rita said in a shaking voice. Temiketin covered her mouth. She wanted to scream. So this was what Mrs. Temiketin and her husband were doing, selling babies that came from the girls they trapped in the school. The next day, Mrs. Temiketin appeared on TV, smiling and giving gifts to widows. People praised her again, saying, "Such a kind woman, God will reward her." Temiketin stared at the TV in the dining hall and felt her heart break. She whispered, "If only they knew the truth." From that day, she promised herself one thing. She would find a way to tell the world what was really happening behind the walls of Havilla Girls School.
Temiketin couldn't take it anymore. Every day she watched girls disappear into the special quarters, and every night she heard the babies crying. She knew she had to escape, even if it meant risking her life. One night, when the guards were eating in the security room, Temiketin whispered to Evie and Adaora, "Tonight we run. If we stay here, we will end up like Rita and the others." The girls were scared. "What if they catch us?" Evie asked. "Then we die trying," Temiketin replied. When midnight came, they quietly tied their bed sheets together to make a rope. Temiketin led the way. The moon was bright, and the school compound was silent except for the sound of frogs croaking near the fence. They moved fast, keeping low. Temiketin's heart was pounding so hard she could hear it. They reached the back fence and threw the bedsheet rope over it. Evie climbed first, then Adaora. Temiketin was about to follow when, woof, woof, the guard dog started barking loudly. The sound broke the silence like thunder. Before they could run, a flashlight flashed across their faces. "Hey, stop right there," one of the guards shouted. The girls screamed and tried to run, but it was too late. The guards caught them and dragged them back inside. By morning, everyone in the dorm knew. Mrs. Temiketin stood in front of them, dressed in her fancy clothes, her smile gone. Her voice was cold as ice. "You think you can run from me? You think this is a playground? You will learn your lesson." She ordered the guards to lock Temiketin, Evie, and Adaora in a small dark room for 3 days without food. The room was tiny and smelled of dust.
Ekaete cried quietly, but even in her pain, she made another promise in her heart. They can lock me up now, but one day, the truth will come out. A few months after the failed escape, something new happened at Havilla Girls School. Two new girls arrived in a shiny black car. Sarah and Sandra, twin sisters from Lagos. They were different from the others. Their clothes were neat, their hair freshly done, and they looked confident. Mrs. Temiketin welcomed them herself with a big smile. "My beautiful daughters from Lagos, you will love it here," she said sweetly. The other girls watched quietly. Whenever rich girls came, the rules seemed softer at first. They got better food, nicer rooms, and new uniforms. But Ekaete, who had seen too much, whispered to Evie, "Don't be fooled. They will soon learn what this place really is." The twins tried to be friendly. Sarah smiled at everyone and said, "We just want to study and make our parents proud." But after 1 week, they started to notice something strange. They never saw any real teachers. The lessons were short, and most of the time the girls were made to do chores or sit quietly. At night, Sarah heard crying from the back buildings. She asked one of the matrons, "Ma, what's that sound?" The woman glared at her and snapped at her, "Mind your business and sleep." Sarah told Sandra, "Something is not right in this school. I can feel it." Sandra agreed. They decided to watch closely and find out what was really going on. But soon, the day came when they saw the truth with their own eyes. While walking to the kitchen one evening, they passed by the back corridor, and there, through a half-open door, they saw a girl lying on a bed crying in pain while an older woman stood beside her holding a newborn baby. The twins froze. Sarah whispered, "Oh my God, this is not a school."
From that day, the twins' hearts were full of fear. They realized they were not guests. They were prisoners. And sooner or later, what had happened to the other girls could happen to them too. Days turned into weeks, and the twins, Sarah and Sandra, grew more afraid. The truth about Havilla Girls School haunted them every night. Sarah, the bolder one, whispered often, "We can't stay here. We must find a way out." But Sandra was the softer one. She had asthma, and the stress made her weak. Each night, the air in their small dorm felt tighter, and she struggled to breathe. One evening, Sarah went to beg a guard for help. "Please, my sister can't breathe. She needs her inhaler." The guard frowned. "Quiet. Go back to bed. She'll be fine." But Sandra wasn't fine. Her breathing got worse. Ekaete, who was in the same dorm, held her hand and whispered, "Don't give up, please. We'll help you." They begged and cried, but no one opened the door that night. By morning, Sandra had stopped moving. Her lips had turned pale, her eyes still open. Sarah screamed until her voice cracked. The matron came, looked at the body, and said coldly, "She's gone. Take her away." Just like that. No prayer, no tears, no respect. The guards wrapped Sandra in a white sheet and carried her away through the back door. The other girls watched, shaking, too afraid to cry loudly. Sarah sat on the floor, rocking herself, whispering again and again, "They killed my sister. They killed my sister." That was the moment something changed in her. The fear inside her turned into fire. She wiped her tears and said to Ekaete, "I'm not keeping quiet anymore. I'll make the whole world hear what's happening here." And that promise, made beside her sister's empty bed, would become the beginning of the end for Havilla Girls School. After Sandra's death, something inside Sarah broke. She stopped smiling. She stopped eating. All she could think about was one thing: escaping Havilla Girls School and exposing the truth. One afternoon, while the girls were washing clothes behind the dorm, Sarah noticed a small delivery truck parked near the back gate. The driver was talking to a guard, waiting to load supplies. An idea came to her. That night, she whispered to Ekayete, "Tomorrow, I'm going to hide in that truck. I don't care if I die trying. Someone outside has to know." Ekayete was scared. "What if they catch you? Then at least I will die free," Sarah said firmly. The next day, when everyone was busy, Sarah slipped behind the storage room and crawled under the back of the truck. She found an empty sack and pulled it over herself. Her heart was beating fast. Thump, thump, thump. The truck moved slowly toward the gate. The guard checked the bag quickly but didn't see her. For the first time in a long time, Sarah felt hope. The truck drove out of the school compound and onto the main road. When it finally stopped at a fuel station, Sarah jumped out and ran into the bush nearby. She ran for hours until she reached a small village. There she met an old woman selling bread by the roadside. "Please," Sarah cried, "I need help. They're hurting girls at Havilla Girls School." The woman looked shocked and took her to a nearby police post. Sarah was weak and shaking, but she told them everything about the locked gates, the babies, the guards, and her sister's death. At first, the officers didn't believe her. But when she mentioned Mrs. Temiketin and her famous school, they looked at each other. "We've heard rumors before, but now we have someone who has seen it with her own eyes." They called their superior in Benin. Within hours, a team of officers began to prepare to visit Havilla Girls School, not as guests this time, but as investigators.
Early the next morning, the sound of sirens broke the quiet air of Benin City. 2 police vans and a black jeep drove straight toward Havilla Girls School. Inside the lead car sat Sarah, wrapped in a blanket, her eyes still swollen from crying. She whispered, "Please, don't let them hide anything. They'll try to cover it up." When the police arrived, Mrs. Temiketin came out smiling as if nothing was wrong. "Good morning, officers. What brings you here?" But her smile quickly faded when one of them said, "We received a report of illegal activities in this school. Step aside." The guards tried to block the gate, but the officers pushed through. They searched every building, the classrooms, the dorms, and finally, the hidden rooms behind the kitchen. That was where they found it. A secret hallway leading to underground rooms. The smell hit them first, a mix of blood, medicine, and old air. Inside those rooms were girls, weak, crying, some holding babies, some couldn't even walk. The officers were shocked. One of them whispered, "Dear God, this is a prison, not a school." The police immediately called for ambulances. Girls were carried out one by one. Some of them hugged Sarah and cried, "You came back for us." But not everyone made it. A few girls were gone, too sick, too weak, or too broken to survive. Still, for the first time in years, the gates of Havilla Girls School were opened wide. Mrs. Temiketin tried to run, but she was caught near the back fence. The police handcuffed her while she shouted, "You don't know who I am. I have powerful people behind me." But no one cared anymore. The truth had been seen. The cameras recorded everything, and the world would finally hear what really happened in that famous school. Sarah stood outside the gate, staring at the signboard that once looked beautiful but now felt cursed. She whispered to herself, "Sandra, I did it. You didn't die for nothing." By evening, the whole of Benin City was buzzing. Videos from the police raid had spread everywhere, on TV, phones, and social media. People couldn't believe it. The same Havilla Girls School they praised so much, the same place they donated money to, was actually a place of pain and darkness. One TV reporter stood in front of the school gate and said, "This is where hundreds of girls were held captive. Behind these walls, a wicked operation was running, pretending to be a charity." Everywhere you turned, people were talking about Mr. Dave and Mrs. Temiketin. Those who once admired them were now angry and ashamed. Church members cried, saying they had been deceived. Even the governor spoke on the news, promising justice. That night, police took Mr. Dave from his big mansion. He didn't fight, he just looked tired and broken. The neighbors who once waved at him every morning now stood outside whispering, how could he do such a thing? The next day, Mrs. Temiketin's face was all over the news. Some clips showed her smiling at charity events, hugging poor children, but beside those clips were pictures from the raid. Girls crying, rooms filled with baby cots and chains. The truth hit hard. Many of the girls were found with fake names and no family contact. Some were even from other states, lured by promises of free education. One woman watching the news burst into tears. Her daughter had disappeared 2 years ago after getting admission to a school in Benin. When she saw her child's picture among the rescue girls, she screamed with joy, "That's my baby! That's my child!" The news spread across Nigeria and beyond. People started questioning other charity schools. Government officials rushed to check if similar things were happening elsewhere. For the first time, the world truly saw the evil that had been hiding behind pretty pictures and sweet words. And it all started because one brave girl, Sarah, chose to speak. She was called for interviews not as a victim but as a hero. When one reporter asked her, "Why did you risk everything to tell the truth?" Sarah said quietly, "Because silence helps evil grow. I just wanted the world to know what really goes on behind those gates."
Inside the police station, Mrs. Temiketin sat quietly. Her once beautiful clothes were torn and stained. Her hair was messy and her hands trembled. For hours, she refused to speak. But when the police showed her the videos from the raid, the girls crying, the babies, the underground rooms, she broke down and started to cry. "It wasn't supposed to be like this," she whispered. The officers leaned closer. "Then tell us how it started," one said. And slowly, Temiketin began to talk. She told them how she and Mr. Dave started Havilla Girls School as a private shelter. At first, they said they wanted to help orphans and young girls. But when rich couples started offering money for babies, things changed. "At first, we said no," she confessed, "but the money was too much. One baby could bring millions. We told ourselves it was helping everyone. The couples got children, and we got funds to help more girls." Her voice broke as she continued, "But it got out of control. We stopped teaching. We started recruiting. The girls became prisoners." The officers sat in silence, shocked by her words. When asked about the babies, she covered her face and cried. "They were taken away, sold to people who could pay. I don't even know where most of them are now." She confessed how she used her charity events, social media and churches to make people trust her. Even top politicians supported her work, not knowing the truth. When it was Mr. Dave's turn, he didn't say much. He just looked down and said, "I only wanted to live rich and respected. I didn't care who suffered, as long as our name stayed clean." The confessions were recorded and played on national television. People watched in disbelief. Those who once clapped for the couple now shook their heads in anger. Some even gathered outside the court shouting, "Justice for the girls! Lock them up for life!" And when the judge finally spoke, his words were clear and firm. For the crimes of human trafficking, abuse and exploitation, Mr. Dave and Mrs. Temiketin are sentenced to life imprisonment. Sarah watched from the courtroom, tears in her eyes. Not tears of pain this time, but of relief. Justice had come at last.